Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another week of the Enjoy the Walk podcast. It is almost the end of summer. It feels like the end of summer. We're in the middle of summer heat, though, and we're in the heat of the golf news right now. Dante, Live is going wild. PGA Tour is fighting back. We've got US Junior Am. We've got USGA Adaptive. We've got all kinds of good stuff to talk about with Youth on Course and the partnership we're doing with them in the fall with Maryland State Golf. We've got our own stuff cracking as the golf season is just booming right now. We've got ex-PGA Tour pros leading in state opens. We've got all kinds of stuff to talk about back in your backyard as well, man. Excited to join you again, Dante, myself, Dalton,
As
here with
always.
Enjoy the Walk, man. Excited for it.
Oh, definitely, man. It's a shame because I know we were texting back and forth, and you said, "Wow, I didn't even realize next week was August," and I told you don't remind me because I do know, and it's kind of depressing that the season's kind of coming to the end, and we are. I know it is hotter than hot out there right now, and I can tell you we are not representing the brand very well. My ass has been in a cart for the past month, and I have no shame.
If there was something like a DNF for walkers right now, it's a TFH, too effing hot to walk. It has
Yes,
been
sir.
brutal. It has been brutal in a cart to go play golf right now. So yeah, I think everybody on the East Coast and I think around the country is feeling our pain. We do want to walk. We do want to enjoy that afternoon 9, but man, it has just been too hot to do so.
It sure has, but I'll tell you what, man, people are still out there playing golf. I mean, the tee sheets are packed, which
They really are.
shock. It's shocking, but I mean, if you know how to do it right and stay cool, bring a wet towel, stay hydrated, take a cart, let the air kind of cool you off from the sweat and all that. It's doable. It's tough, but it sure is doable.
No, it really is. And I mean, speaking of just like my last weekend, I played in a two-man better ball this past weekend, and it was hot, hot. We went off at 1 o'clock the first day in like the brunt of the heat. Everyone was like, man, if we could just get through the day, it'll be better. Tomorrow we're going off at 9. It was worse the second day in the morning. There was no wind, no nothing. It was absolutely excruciating. But we had ourselves a good weekend. We got inside the cash for the money tournament in the Calcutta. So we had ourselves
Nice.
a good weekend.
Yeah, I know you're telling me you're playing. It's crazy you're saying you're playing pretty well and a couple missed shots out there, but you still got in the money, so that's pretty dope. That's always it's always dope when you put it down. Like that's why I like getting in some of like the money games, and you kind of realize like, oh, what's my potential if I play lights out and actually win the whole thing
Mhm.
compared to what I'm buying into, and if like that ratio is pretty high, you know, I'm in. So that's awesome, dude. Yeah, I didn't have no big crazy money matches, but we played on the weekend, and I'm telling you, I think our latest tee time was 7 a.m. and it
I
was
love that.
still hot.
There was simply
But
no way to beat it on the East
no,
Coast. There really wasn't.
we
But
even
no,
played.
we had our. It sounds like we had ourselves a good golf weekend though.
Yeah, we sure did. I've been playing actually extremely well. Um, just not really letting the bad shots really get to my head, which I think out of like this year, I think, if you want to assess the year like Justin Thomas and look at your goals, which really wasn't a goal of mine, I think uh, California humbled me very quickly after we went out there and played with some of those guys and realized like and helpful from Trent. He just has low expectations and kind of went with that for the whole season. And dude, I've just really like it's crazy. It's like that Tiger Woods saying where like you draw a line like 12 feet in front of you, and then as soon as you walk over, you forget it and you just keep it moving. And I kind of never really taken that specific approach, but almost have. And I don't know, man. My mental game has just been the best. Yeah, I get pissed out there here and there, but I don't let like one hole really screw me up for the rest of the round. And I've just been playing. It's weird. I don't know. I'm excited for California this year. I feel like my game's been getting a lot better for
It's
the
funny.
upcoming season.
You and I both. I think I told you when I came off the course on Sunday and knew we didn't win. Like I was not happy because I knew I left some shots out there, but I was like, dude, I'm in this like weird state of like zen golf right now. I'm just like,
Yes.
no matter if I hit something shitty or if I hit something really good, like I don't get over amped, but I also don't get like overly mad. Like I used to be a club thrower, and I don't really throw clubs anymore. I just kind of accept what's given to me and go into the next shot of like, well, I'm just gonna make this one, right? Like I've chipped in more since I found this like state of zen around the green than like anything, because I feel like in order to chip in, you still can't be pissed off about the shot that puts you in
Put
the
you in
state
that
of like having
position.
to go
Yeah.
chip. Yeah.
Yeah, and like another thing too is I've always if it was a realization this year too is like when you play with like a big like a member guest, or you play like a big group with a bunch of buddies, right? And you all basically come in, you head to the 19th hole, and how many times do you talk about like the perfect straight shot that you hit? It's for me, all the conversation is like, yeah, I hooked one on 14. I was in the woods and then shanked it out in the fairway and then flushed like a club to get in and one putted. Like you always talk about those crazy recovery holes to, end up making par or scrambling for bogey or somehow, wow, I miraculously made a birdie or better. Those are the ones that always come up in conversation. So I've started thinking when I get myself into a situation like that where I hit a bad tee shot or I hit a bad second shot, it's like, oh, how can this be a 19th hole conversation and recap? Like, how did I do that? How can I pull this off? And I think going into that has extremely helped my mental game and just overall helped my scores
No
at the
doubt.
end of the day.
No doubt. I'm right there with you. It's been fun to play like this. It's like this kind of new
It's
lease
different.
on life.
It's
New
how it
lease
should
on
be
life
played.
as a golfer that's played it for probably far too long. But speaking of new lease on life, man, I've got a new wand in the bag.
Yes, you do. I
I
got the
took
picture the other day. I was
I
finally.
I took some of the cash winnings from this past weekend, and I got myself a new wand. And for those listening on the podcast, I'll happily show this on our YouTube page. So head over to that. Enjoy the Walk Off podcast on YouTube. Do a little share screen here and be able to give you guys an insider's look at what my putter looks like. I went Odyssey, Dante. I went with a little bit of a tour triple track kind of deal. So. I mean, let's dive into it and what it looks like here. I went with just the simple black line here, the nice Odyssey 10 Tour. I'm all about it, man. The stability shaft that's also in this thing is quite exciting.
Damn, that's sick. And for also for the to listeners that we're talking about Zen golf here, like our new mindset in golf. Dalton's biggest, I guess you can say, in between the ears has been his putter. And it's crazy because the guy can absolutely flush an iron, hit the long ball, but as soon as you get him on the green, that's where you're taking his money. But from the conversations I'm having with you, it sounds like, I mean, this is a great time to be getting fitted for a putter and having that confidence going into the weekend too. So
Yeah, I mean,
is this the exact this picture you're showing me? Is this the exact? Are you getting that shaft? Like I know you got the
this so
stability
so
shaft. Is that
so
the
this
neck?
is not right. So I'm having a tough time looking for it, and I've got it behind me here. So I actually might end up sharing it
Yeah,
with
pull
people.
it up on video. Let's see this.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do, and this is obviously horrible podcast etiquette, but go, like we said, go check out the YouTube page, and you'll understand that you can watch other places. So this is the putter I've got now, and I'll put it very close to the screen. It's got a nice thin black line across the top, which I have learned to love. Here's the back of it. Face is nice and like white Odyssey insert.
Oh, that's like the
Bottom.
old. That's like their original insert.
Oh, it's
That's
nice. This is
that's been
nice.
that's when they
And
started coming out with those like Odyssey putters. That was the insert, and I
yes,
think Phil's been rocking that since day one.
there's like a bunch of guys on tour rocking this all of a sudden again, which
Yeah.
I love. And this little shaft
Yes.
hosel is just
The
so
neck.
clean. The neck
Yeah.
is so clean. I love this. And then, like I said, obviously the Stroke Lab shaft, which is steel, and then I think maybe graphite here. It's something to cut the weight out of it and make it more bottom centric, so you're more
What? What kind
forgiving.
of grip we rocking here?
Okay, so this is where I really dove into being a nerd. They had the Odyssey like putter on it, and it was trash, but I loved how I was putting with it anyway. So I had them put a Super Stroke 1.0 Pistol GT on it, which is just a nice slim pistol grip. And this thing, let me just tell you, feels good in the hands, sets good in the hands. I'm just excited. This thing,
Yeah, dude, that's
little
a
Odyssey rolls the ball real nice.
yeah, those stability shafts. Because I know our guy over at S. Dot Putters, Steve Barry, that guy's got a Stroke Lab putter too, and I held it in my hand the other day, and like it feels literally the name. It's stable, stability, man. It's
Yep.
absolute. That's dope. I'm pumped for you. I hope you're bringing it out for the club championship this week. So have you? I know you said you practiced a little bit today, rolling some putts.
Yeah, I got outside in between the rain showers today for maybe an hour. Started at like 2 or 3 feet, just kind of got a feel for banging a bunch into the cup, right? Like just getting a ton of balls in the cup just right off the bat. Moved it to 3 feet, moved it to 4 feet, got all the way out to about like 8, 9, 10 feet in that range, and was just holing them like all day long, holing them. And I think the biggest thing that I've moved to, and I want to talk about like golf balls here for a second. I've moved to the Callaway Chrome Soft triple track. It's like all I'll play anymore because I love that triple track. But before I felt like it was pretty underutilized with the putter I had in the bag. It didn't have this like, 2 ball line in the middle of it, like extra lining mechanism. And now with the 2 ball with the single line in it, I just feel like there's no way I can't not square up the club face.
Yeah,
And it's just
that's
it's so good, man. It's
you didn't want
absurd.
to
And that
go
was
with the triple track on the two ball to match the triple track on the ball.
it's too much.
Too
I
much.
have
That
I think I have ADHD, and by think of, I mean I'm pretty sure I do, just never been diagnosed. I'd go nuts. My brain would go wild.
oh my gosh, yeah. That could be a lot, but no, that's. I mean, that kind of makes sense because you get the triple track and you just take the black line and just match it up to that middle line.
Yeah.
That can work too. That's pretty sick. So you gonna play? You gonna get a couple practice rounds in before the weekend to just get
You
a
know,
feel for on the greens and
I think
scoring
yes.
wise?
I'm gonna try and get out on Thursday and Friday. Wednesday looks like pathetic weather, but also Monday and Tuesday has been pretty pathetic weather. I wanted to get out Monday and it just rained its butt off all
Yeah,
night. So
you guys got. I was looking at the radar because I was played in this skins mat. So we got yeah. Obviously, we're running deer as well. Right next door is another public track called like Centerton,
yeah,
and awesome track, dude. The layout, love it. Just needs a lot of TLC.
yeah.
And if someone can get in there and put some money into it, that can be one of the top courses in the area. I think the layout is absolutely perfect. And it was supposed to rain. I mean, they were talking about severe isolated thunderstorms. I mean, like get inside and shelter up,
Mhm.
dude. It just surrounded us. All you heard was the thunder around us. But I was looking at the radar and I was looking at the projected forecast for like into later time, and I was like
Yep.
looking at your area, and we're talking purple over
Oh, dude,
your
it's bad.
area.
It's bad. It was just absolutely bad. So
Oh,
hopefully the weather gets good. Hopefully we can get out and go play a little bit and get some practice in. I did play both courses this past weekend. We played Man of War on Saturday and War Admiral on Sunday. So I did get to see the courses, but obviously not with this putter in hand. And we played the Blues this past weekend. So we played the Blacks in the club championship, completely different course from back there. So I want to get out and just refamiliarize myself with some of the T-balls
yeah,
before we totally get out and give it a go. But yeah, club championship this weekend, man. I'm pretty stoked.
big weekend.
Big weekend. Also, big weekend for the U.S. Junior Am. Let's get into that a little bit. A 12-year-old made the cut to get into the U.S. Junior Am. I mean, when you think about obviously the U.S. Junior Am is catering to the younger generation, but 12 years old getting into a USGA Junior Am event that's pretty unheard of.
Yeah, because we're talking like I think the girls were on TV over the weekend. I think they played theirs, unless it was like a recap of the whatever. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, we're at the bar, right? And I'm watching it with my girlfriend because we were out on the town, just grabbing some drinks, hitting up some wineries,
Mhm.
the whole nine. And She's like, well, what's the age? And I think the age goes up to like 17, 18 years old. Basically,
Yeah.
senior year of high school.
Yep.
Wild. So when you got guys in there that are 12 years old, these kids can play some golf.
Well, and how about, speaking of kids that can play some golf? I mean, first off, shout out to Pearson Hoik. Hoik, I think is his name. He finished drive, chip, and putt finalist at Augusta National. So to see the overlap here of what Augusta National is doing in the drive, chip, and putt, and then to see it directly relate to like actual on course, antics pretty much, and seeing him play as well as he did to get to the U.S. Junior Am is just absolutely wild. Another guy that I think is just absolutely insane to see him inside the ropes here is Patrick Cantley's younger brother, going out and shooting a back nine record on the U.S. Junior Am of 28 at Bandon Dunes. I mean, what a number! 8 threes out of 9 holes.
Jeez.
8 threes. The kid's 18 years old. He's the younger brother of the reigning FedEx Cup champion, Patrick Cantlay. Like I said, a back nine, 28 to shoot 5 under, 67 in his opening round. Beat the previous record held by Eric Bay and Yuki Moriyama of 29. I mean, he played his front nine and 4 over and then just went absolutely ballistic on the back nine. I mean, what a freaking card for this kid. I mean,
that's
eight threes in 9 holes. That's just wild to me. Like, I mean, again, we'll put it up here and share screen for our listeners to take a look at this.
That's wild too, because like the weather out there isn't the best. Because I think there's actually a guy from our area, a kid in there as well. Damn, look at that card, blue and dark blue.
It just gives bluer.
That's
absurd to me.
I think there's a guy from our area that's from the Medford Lakes area.
Can we talk about this kid's? Can we talk about this kid's beard real quick though? He looks like he's 25.
Yeah, I know. Like
I mean,
damn.
kudos to the Cantlay family for seemingly just absolutely breeding great golfers.
That's just awesome. What's his last name? Jack Ross. Jack Ross, I think his name. He's from our area. He's out there too playing in it.
I love it. And there's a bunch of kids out from like the DC area, Maryland area as well. There's 4 kids from the MSGA that made it. Shout out to Grant Lester from Washington, D.C. He is tied 4th after 2 rounds, shooting a first round 66. And actually live on the podcast right now, we're recording on the 26th of July, 9:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He shot even par on the front nine, and he's 1 under going into the back. So Grant Lester making a move on the second round of the U.S. Junior Am out of D.C. So
wow,
love to see that, tied with Jack Cantlay actually right now at 6 under par for the championship. Got a kid out of Texas, Keaton Vo, that's winning it right now at 9 under, but a slim lead over a chasing field right now. So what amazes me, there are, and I'm scrolling down the leaderboard here, 46 kids under par or better at the U.S. Junior Am right now at Bandon Dunes, which is notoriously a tough golf course.
I mean, I know. I mean, I'm looking at the photos. They're all in pants and like pullovers, so it's probably not the warmest out there. It's almost got that, British Open vibes.
It really does. I love it. But that's cool to see. I mean, it's cool to see the USGA putting on events like this. Obviously, Bandon Dunes being a really awesome host. But, you see the USGA put on an event like the US Junior Am and really exploit how great the game is doing at a junior level. And then they had the inaugural US Adaptive Open out at Pinehurst this year, too. Their new home for the USGA. USGA moved their headquarters to Pinehurst last year, and then they come out with this inaugural Adaptive Open, which is just incredible to watch. I mean, it had the likes of Tiger Woods watching, a bunch of other pros tuning in, and just to give the folks that have disabilities in this world a chance to play for a national open, I think is something that, not only us as golf fans can get behind, it's obviously something these folks will never forget. They crowned the women's and a men's champion in the same weekend. Simone Lee, the men's champion, he is dealing with and has the disadvantage of having autism, pretty severe form of autism, where he can't even really form full sentences. So yeah, for him to go out there and you said like just absolutely produce a silky smooth swing is absolutely
Silky
so cool to
smooth.
see, man. I mean, this goes to the core of like us as humans and just like a feel good story, right? Like the USGA had no way which way they could get this wrong in hosting this event.
No, and you kind of go back to like the way the world's going, and it's like, we just want it's inclusivity, man. It's just being able to have the opportunity for everyone to play.
Yeah.
And you can't beat that in golf. Like I feel like that's like one of the perfect sports. I mean, anybody can really pick up the club and get out there and play. It doesn't matter really who you are, what you are, even like any disability, because there are ways to adapt and be able to play the game of golf, which is unbelievable to see. And it was watching the highlights. I mean, these guys and girls would just walk all over me with some of the scores they were producing.
Oh, it's so good. And I mean, even on the women's side, Kim Moore out of Portridge, Michigan, she was born without a right foot, a severely clubbed left foot, and a slight case of spina bifida. She went on to play college golf. She's now a women's college golf coach. She shot 2 rounds of 76, sandwiched in between an 80 in there for an 8-stroke victory to win the women's side of things. I mean, just overcoming such adversity every step of the way. And these champions are just so valiant in their efforts. She said, she just felt like she knew if she could keep getting par, she'd be tough to beat because birdies were hard to get by out there. She said it's really humbling and incredible to be a part of this golf history. I mean, even they know how special it is to own a piece of a USGA Open.
Yeah, getting the medals, getting the trophy, and just being a part of it, man. I mean, it all comes again down to we always talk, camaraderie within the game of golf. And I mean, what more can you ask for when it comes to that?
No doubt. I mean, like I said, Tiger Woods was watching. He said, we all should be inspired watching the U.S. Adaptive Open. He said, good luck to the competitors. And this shows you truly should never give up. I think it's so true. I mean, we look at some of the adversities we see as regular human beings without any disadvantages on the golf course. And we're reminded quickly when watching something like this of like, oh man, maybe golf ain't so bad after all.
Yeah. Like, let's just enjoy it. Enjoy the game. Bad shot. Oh, well, keep it moving. You have the opportunity to just hit another shot and keep it going.
For sure. Well, making golf better is obviously something we enjoy doing. That's why we partnered with Sky Caddy. You guys can go to our link on our website, www.enjoythewalkpod.com, and go to the link to get $50 off Sky Caddy LX5 smartwatch right now. Sky Caddy is actually matching that deal through the summer. So you're going to actually get a full $100 off a Sky Caddy product, including the Sky Caddy LX5 smartwatch, which Dante, I have been using exclusively. I took it to Ocean City during the member guest because there's no GPSs in the carts. And I even take it to Glen Riddle when I'm walking because, you don't have the cart with you or anything like that. So this smartwatch to me has kind of been a game changer in those awkward shots when you hit it off the beaten path, or even if you've got something between like 130 and in where you're just kind of indecisive about where the yardage is and you're not able to walk something off. This watch gives you front, center, back of greens, and it actually gives you the ability to, as it's a touchscreen, to kind of move the target around the green to really pinpoint where you're hitting and where you need to carry it to. This watch has been a game changer for how I play the game.
Oh, definitely. And we can obviously agree that Enjoy the Walk Golf podcast is Team GPS. I'll put the rangefinder down any day of the week. Give me 3 numbers because we just got new carts at our course, and I think it's got like the Bushnell system in it, but it's got like the cartoon looking course, so it kind of just shows you the the layout. Really, you don't, and then it just tells you where like some of the bunkers are and all that, and you can just hit. But it gives you your front, middle, back numbers. Dude, I think that's absolutely unbelievable because then you can kind of judge where the pin is, and then you can really make a decisive decision on what club. All right, am I going to club up or am I going to club down? Is it a pin in the back? And I have 155 yards to the back of the green. The pin looks like it's back there, probably at 150. If I'm going to miss, I'd rather miss short, so I'm going to club down and just kind of go after it. Like that helps me more than me just taking out the rangefinder, scoping the flag, and just saying, "Oh, I have 152 yards to the flag."
Oh, for sure. And I think the best thing about this watch, in which I've really enjoyed because I'm just such a nerd, is the digital scoring, shot tracking, and like overall statistic tracking. Right after every hole, it pops up quick with like an "Are you finished?" and then it asks you fairway, yes or no, green, yes or no, putts, one, two, how many putts, and then it asks you green regulation, yada yada yada. It asks you basically every statistic that you typically be like ticking off on your card if you're playing by yourself or just playing with some buddies, and not really in a competition and just trying to focus on getting better. And then at the end of the round, you sync it up, and then you play 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4 rounds, and it starts to show you percentages of, hey, you hit the fairway here, and you can actually even toggle left or right to show you what direction of the fairway you missed. And then you really start to beat into, okay, last like 3 weeks, I kind of been missing it left a lot without even really knowing. But the Sky Caddy was there to tell me, hey, you missed 18 fairways to the left. Maybe you should work on that. So that's been my favorite part of like tapping into the Sky Caddy technology and everything that's kind of on the back end of this watch, other than just the rangefinder capabilities and the GPS capabilities.
Yeah, that's sick, dude. That's huge because people don't really utilize that aspect, and I'm at fault to it as well. And I just get the numbers. Like if you have the time to just like quickly enter in those statistics, you can really go back and it's your game film. You're not out there playing a team sport where someone's filming the entire game and you can go back and rewatch exactly what you did. You're going to need that stuff on paper, and you're going to need the statistics. So, if you're trying to elevate your game and take it to the next step and play some like high-end club championships or high-end, Maryland Golf Association events or GAP events, like that can really help your game to find out where you're really missing the ball and where you're really costing shots.
Absolutely. So, guys, like we said, go to www.enjoythewalkpod.com to check out the link to that $50 off the Sky Caddy LX5 watch. It is at the header of our website, so you cannot miss it. And also go to @EnjoyTheWalkPod on Instagram and Twitter. The link to all of these goodies are in our link in bio in the Instagram header. So go check that out, guys. So, Dante, We've talked through the USGA. We've talked through the goodies that are happening with off the course stuff and on the course stuff for us. Now we've got the fun stuff. We've got to dive into LIV because holy smokes, since we last had a podcast, has stuff popped off with LIV Golf and just the new, I would say new, maybe future of LIV. We've started to see a little bit into their crystal ball of how they're planning on funding this down the road, how they're planning on growing it to players outside of just the top 48 after the year 2023 and their 14 event season next year. And we saw also just kind of, I would say, a deeper dive into what makes a PGA Tour pro successful from a monetary standpoint, and Jay Monahan just continually get more divisive.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think it's like I think the PGA Tour's fight, and there are tweets about it saying that Jay Monahan and his team have handled this all wrong, which I do agree. I think they could have handled it a different way, but I feel that's only fueling fire to the LIV Tour, and they're just constantly just grinding on ways that it's going to. I mean, you really can't predict so much that's going to happen in the future, but at the moment, LIV is another tour. It's a competing tour with the PGA, and it's here to stay. And they're doing everything possible to make sure that they are here to stay, and they're going to get the best players they can to represent their tour. And I think the PGA needs to kind of what you've done have always done has worked, but now it's kind of falling off the radar and it's getting stale. So it's how are they going to find a way to do their thing and make it better? Because at the end of the day, PGA Tour is going to be the PGA Tour and Liv's going to be Liv.
Right. And I think, obviously nail on head there with the way you just ended that. The PGA Tour is going to be the PGA Tour and Liv's going to be Liv. Talking about how Liv does what they're doing currently, it's obviously a fresh take. There's obviously a market for it because people are coming out in droves. The Trump Bedminster site this week coming up is sold out at like a $600 for 4 tickets, price for general admission. The prices aren't cheap, and people are just speeding to fill in ticket prices. So, I mean, the consumer is there for it. I think one of the biggest aspects to me is how people are kind of maybe not people, I guess the PGA Tour is taking such a crazy stance on it, right? Like we saw Henrik Stenson be one of the names that jumped right before the times closed and everything filled up for Trump Bedminster. Immediately, actually, even before he officially jumped, the PGA Tour and the Ryder Cup was quick to say he is out as captain, right? And I think if you start to continue to lose guys that are jumping to the Live golf instead of the PGA Tour and cutting them from the Ryder Cup, you're losing not only big names, you're losing historical figures from the Ryder Cup. I'm currently reading a book and also listening on audio to a book of a guy we're going to have on the podcast later in the month called The Cup That They Never Could Have Lost by Shane Sharp, which is a book about the Ryder Cup history. And it talks mostly about Whistling Straits, but it also talks about the Ryder Cup history and how guys made their mark on the Ryder Cup and how it all led up to Whistling Straits and how the USA won and what went behind it, right? But it talks about a lot of that, of the big part Henrik Stenson played over the last 2 decades on the European Ryder Cup team. He's been a Ryder Cup juggernaut for over 2 decades. And in the blink of an eye, because he decides to go and play Live, they cut him off, basically behead him and say, never again, right? Like, it's just absurd to me that you cut out these historical figures that make the Ryder Cup what it is, right? Like that's part of the lore of the Ryder Cup is the history behind it. Without the history behind the Ryder Cup, you have nothing better than an exhibition in which they're making fun of the Live to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because it's like they're so quick to just jump. And, we just had this conversation about how great golf is with including everyone. Now they're just trying to exclude the guys that decide to go a different direction because of certain reasons. But, why put so much effort into excluding said golfer and saying, well, you can't come back here and you're done from here and you're no longer captain, when why can't they take a step back and look, what can we do better?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to me. And I think we'll see it play out in courts because it's already rumblings of lots of litigation from players, especially on the DP World Tour, that refuse to give up their tour membership because they're exempt for so long. So there's going to be litigation there. There's already class action lawsuits from Live against the PGA Tour, basically running a monopoly. So we're going to see at least the discussion be had. Will it be all figured out in court? God only knows. I'm sure, there's already rumblings of the PGA Tour before Live was even a thing, was working, within Congress to fight the Live. So, I mean, PGA Tour is not dumb. It's not their first battle. I think they're going to obviously have some firepower in their end as well to fight this because they're not going down without a couple swings or a lot of swings. It's just interesting to me, the stance they continue to take of just annexing everyone that even mentions it, talks about it, or ends up going, even though they've had such a long history on the PGA Tour. I mean, the PGA Tour is not who the PGA Tour is today without guys like Phil Mickelson and Henrik Stenson and Sergio Garcia and Ian Poulter. And the list goes on and on, right? Like, yes, the PGA, like those guys aren't who they are without the PGA Tour, but it's hand in hand. The PGA Tour is not who they are without these historical figures either. And I think they fail to realize that a lot.
Yeah, I think it's just like they have competition and never thought they were ever going to have competition. And now the competition's growing pretty quickly and they're slamming on the door. And I think they don't know how to answer, so they're just kind of kicking first and just seeing what happens rather than, let's take a look at this. How can we adapt? How can we conquer, this competitor and make ourselves better? They're just literally just kicking first and just whatever comes out comes out, and they're just like, well, you know what? Then screw you, you're out.
For sure.
Rather
Now,
than
what's going to be interesting, and this might just absolutely break the internet and the golf world. Talks as of the 21st of this month, so 5 days ago, the LPGA commissioner came out in a public statement and said, I'm open to talking with Liv. I actually welcome it. She thinks it would be great for the women's game. Can you imagine this? Because I'm on board with her. Can you imagine this in a world where the LPGA gets the funding, gets the backing, gets a new fresh face from Liv, and oversteps the PGA Tour in viewership and overall like money for purses? I mean, I can see it happening. The uptick in women's viewership was already on a steady rise compared to the PGA just kind of stagnation in viewership. A swift kick in the butt from Liv, like towards the LPGA, could propel them far greater than the PGA Tour.
Yeah, and I don't think, maybe deep down in Greg Norman's mind is let's knock out the PGA Tour, but in reality, there's so many companies out there. It's Coke and Pepsi, right? Same damn thing. One may like the other, but they're still there. They're not like Coke's not like, oh, you're screwing me over because of Pepsi. I mean, it's still a cola, right? Like it's brand A or brand B. I mean, that's why we have brands out there, right? I don't know, man. It's just crazy to the pettiness between certain people and certain ways they're going about this. I think they just really all need to sit down and just figure out like how is this going to work? Because I think the question kind of comes down is a lot of people are asking is like, well, if you're on the PGA Tour, are you an employee of the PGA Tour? Or are you like a subcontract player of the PGA Tour? And how does that work? Well, maybe you should figure out to find black and white writing on the wall that dictates and determines what the PGA Tour, and if you are a PGA Tour card member, what that really means to you.
For sure.
And for you.
Well, and I think too, the biggest thing is right. Like there was a breakdown of what it takes to be self-sustaining on the PGA Tour, and I think that's a conversation that often gets missed. Right? You look at these headlines of the purse is, so many million, and this guy made a couple 100,000, and oh, awesome, he's got to be living well, and this, that, and the other. I think people miss the fact that not only say those guys win 100 or 1.5 million. They pay 50% in taxes. They pay at least 10% to their caddy, if not more. 10% is kind of just like an understood minimum. These guys that have good relationships with their caddies probably pay them more. You pay up to 6 to 10% for your agent. You pay around 10% for the travel to get your agent, your caddy, your team to and from every event. So, like, rough translation, you could make 1.5 million, and then all of a sudden you're losing over 50, 60, 75, almost 75% back into just keeping the cog in the wheel, right? Like you just to stay alive, just to stay up, to stay even. Not even mentioning making money.
Let's see. Let's do some math real quick. Right? If you're going off of this thing, you got write these numbers down.
Yep.
So if you make 1.5 million off of that, and that's 50% of taxes, that's $750,000 that's taken from that.
Yep.
Plus, and if you're going off of that 1.5 million, oops. if I'm doing my math correct, that's another $150,000 to the caddy. Then your agent, that's 90 grand. And then another $150,000 for your travel expenses.
Yep.
So what's that added up?
Basically, so let's run through that again, so everybody knows what the math we just did. That was
And that's
1.5
all based
million, right?
1.5 million, and you're taking the percentage of 1.5 million off of each category: 50% taxes, 10% caddy, 6% agent, 10% travel.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're at 750,000 for taxes, right? So Uncle Sam's got to have his piece. So there's 1.5. Basically, you're at 750,000 because that's half. And then you're subtracting 150K to the caddy, which the poor caddy, in all actuality, that's a check written to the caddy. So he's only getting half of that minus expenses and yada yada yada. So even the caddy's 150,000 isn't truly 150,000 minus 90,000 for the agent. So now you're less than 500,000. You're looking at now. Granted, don't get me wrong here. If they're winning 1.5 million, they're still taking home around 350,000, 350 to $375,000. So not a bad day at the office, but that's one tournament, right? And if we look up the PGA Tour schedule or the PGA Tour winnings from this past week at the 3M, PGA Tour 3M first. See how much money these guys at the 3M made. Purse breakdown. Tony Finau, he didn't even make 1.5 million. He made 1.35 million, which means all of that we just did is cut in,
It's
two-thirds.
like a third.
So second place went from 1.3 million to $667,000. So now you're cutting that in half already. This guy's starting with less than $300,000 before he's even got to pay everybody. Now, again, I know apples to oranges here, but it goes to show you how quickly. I mean, if you finished outside of the top 10, you're not making more than $100,000, and that's before you pay everybody. If you finish outside of the top 30, you're not making more than $20,000, and if you finish outside of the top 50, you might have made 10 grand. Now, granted, again, taxes, 5 grand. I guarantee these guys put more than 5 grand in to showing up that week.
Yeah.
So it's a tough road. You could make the weekend, place, less than top 30 and probably lose money.
Possibly. Easily. And if you don't make the cut, you make zero money.
100%.
So you're like,
don't get me wrong. I understand people's argument of, well, that's the way golf's been. And, it makes people better because if you're not if you're making cuts, then that's incentive to, play better and make this. And like, I understand it. I get that argument. And I'm half in agreement with that argument. Like, I understand golf's been that way forever. I like the fact that if you don't make the cut, you go home. But from a job standpoint and from the way the PGA Tour has all of a sudden positioned itself, you have to look at it and say, well, that's not fair. These guys should, they're putting on a show. The PGA Tour is a digestible product on TV. They stream it and everything. They make money off of these guys' name and image and likeness. If we're getting into the NCAA terms, name, image, and likeness, they're making money off of these guys on Thursday and Friday. They're making off of fans Thursday and Friday. These guys are signing autographs Thursday and Friday. And in all honesty, they're making money off of these guys as soon as they get on site. Tuesday practice rounds, Wednesday pro-ams, Thursday rounds, Friday rounds. And for them to not get paid, yeah, they might have got sponsors money. But if they didn't get paid, that's where you get into that murky water of okay, you really can't discredit these guys for going where the money is.
Yeah. You can't. I mean, like you said, we've had the discussion before. We understand the argument with the PGA Tour in regards to, you know, there's a drive with that tour. You know, you don't make the cut, you go home with nothing. And then
Yeah.
that's kind of the concern with the whole live thing is like, what's the drive going to be with the players, you know, come a year, 2 or 3 down the road where, you know, they've made almost in their bank, you know, 5, 6, up 10 million and like, you know, what could be within a year. So you kind of have to wonder what's going to happen or what's going on. And but then again, it kind of comes down to the whole NCAA aspect, and what you're just saying is how much revenue are they really bringing in from the fans, the food and beverage, uh,
Right.
the endure or the sponsorship money, and what's going to certain people's pockets or certain expenses compared to what do they really have left? What's their overall, you know, income and revenue base for that specific tournament for the week, and how much are they really taking out of that to put into the purse? And I think that's where a lot of guys are starting to question when it
Well, and I think
comes to
the
their pay, I guess the pay scale.
dude, the biggest thing to me in which I saw people just not understanding it was when all of a sudden where the PGA Tour took heat for not having enough money, in a week's time, less than that, the PGA Tour announced over $52 million in additions to purses throughout the rest of the year. Where is the PGA Tour just finding $52 million all of a sudden, right? Like, they should almost need to explain themselves of why that wasn't implemented before if there was just $52 million sitting out there for grabs.
And I think that's the
Somebody was
frustration.
greedy. Somebody was
Yeah.
greedy.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think that's where where you might start seeing spitefulness from the PGA Tour players just hopping over the live. Not because they want to go play live, it's because of how they feel in regards to where, like you said, the greediness is coming from.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely something where I think there's way more questions than answers right now, as far as like what's going on, what makes sense for the PGA Tour. I mean, like, let's put it this way. Francesco Molinari was on the bubble last year to be in the top 125 to keep his card on tour, and he made just under $1 million. So right there's your answer. You could make up to $1 million. 996,000 was where he finished the year, and he barely got his card. Rory Sabatini made 968,000 last year and lost his card. So like that's how tough it is, A, to keep your card on tour. And you could make that much money. And as we just did the breakdown, is probably not that much money when you're paying for the life on tour, the travel and everything. And it's a grind. It's 20, 30 weeks out of the year, at least, if not more, where you're jumping from city to city and really, you know, putting your family on hold pretty much to go chase this dream. So I mean, if you compare it to other sports, it's just not comparable for the money that you get as a professional golfer compared to the grind it is out there of travel week to week,
Agreed.
especially when they came out with the wraparound tour. I mean, as soon as
Yeah.
they came out with the
It'd be,
wraparound schedule, it became absurd.
yeah, and it might be different too if they just said, you know, from the Tournament of Champions all the way to maybe the last major of the year after the FedEx Cup, right? And then it's like here's 2 3 months off. Like you said, these guys they finish the season and they jump right back into the new season, and it's there's no break, there's no off season for these guys to just like any other sport where, you know, all right, we didn't make the playoffs in my off season a lot is, you know, comes sooner where I can take maybe a couple weeks or maybe a month and just really enjoy it with my family, because at the end of the day, if you decide to do that on the PGA Tour, you're basically taking a no pay, you know, no pay vacation,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's
and you
basically
have to
like,
plan
and
for it.
I'll consider it like this because I've recently gone through a similar scenario. It's like if you're in a sales job, you're 100% commission, no backup, right? Like if you don't go kill what you eat, what you kill, then you've got nothing. To a situation where you've got a base and you have some guidance, and all of a sudden you've got an income and then but you still get to go out and sell, right? It's like kind of the same similar situation. Who's going to do better too is what I'm interested to see down the stretch. I think we saw it in the Open. A lot of live guys contended. I'm excited to see down the stretch of more majors, God willing, if the governing bodies aren't idiots and start banning these guys. But I hope if they're continually allowed to play in majors, I think the live golf versus PGA Tour golf is just going to create better competition in these major events.
Yeah, and it like you said, it really could, because that could be such a burden off of certain players' shoulders that they don't really have to worry about the money side of thing, to where they can really focus on golf if they're out there to win.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're gonna, if it goes that realm of things, you can really see certain players kind of taking leaps up in the world golf rankings. If in a perfect world, if they're kind of conjoined, you can probably see certain players that are really like, all right, well, my family's taken care of, my house is taken care of. I can focus really on my job and go out and win some tournaments.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt at all. And I think what's interesting is news that just came out this week regarding, as we mentioned, the kind of future of live golf and what it's going to look like. They came out this week and said that, hey, at the end of 2023, after the bottom of after the end of each season, the 4 bottom players will be relegated, which basically means, gone. See you next year. You can play your way back in. But they're going to hold basically a Q school, which is going to be 80 to 100 players in the, Q school promotional tournament, which they call it, with an opportunity to play their way in. So they're almost, replicating a mini Q school, but instead of paying 20 grand over the course of 6 weeks to play it like you do in the PGA Tour, you got one tournament, 4 guys, winner takes all, pretty much top 4 get in. So, I mean, it's interesting to see how, all of these questions that people had and all the BS surrounding, well, it's not sustainable. Well, it's not this. Well, it's not that. All of a sudden, lo and behold, the Live Tour did have a plan. And I think this is just part of their greater plan of they're going to roll out what they want people to know as they're ready for people to know, and not a second sooner.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like kind of like a cool thing where that could, people talk about, oh, well, everybody's getting paid and there's no cuts and there's no competition. Well, if you don't perform, you're canned the next year and you got to work your way back up. That could be where the competition and, grind stays and continues. So that could be a factor as well.
For sure. It's going to be interesting to see, what ends up happening with that event, right? Like who plays in it? Who do they let come in? Who's the 80 to 100 golfers they let play in it? I think at this point, it's obvious that Greg Norman's not going to say no to many people. So, who comes and plays? Will people get banned just for going and playing in a qualifier? Say you go play in a qualifier and they ban you and you don't get in, right? You're not one of the 4 guys. Then what? So it's going to be interesting to see who puts their necks on the line, I think, for this tour. And by the end of 2023, do we see the same climate that we have right now? Or do people become more accepting of live by the end of 2023?
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. And somebody's time clock is ticking. His name is Eldrick Woods. News came out that Tiger is potentially going to play in Florida this year. End of this year, specifically with Joe LaCava. They're back on the grind. He is planning to play at his Hero World Challenge, obviously in the Bahamas. I think Tiger made that tournament just for him and his family to get away for the winter. But then obviously playing in the PNC father-son, and then expected to have 3 to 4 starts before Augusta next year. I think we kind of expected this, right? Like this is not crazy news for us to digest. We kind of understood that this year was a miracle in itself that Tiger got back on any kind of, tour schedule and saw him in a major. I think next year was realistic to begin with, and maybe even the year after that to contend. So, you got to look at the historical comebacks of big figures when they have a big, injury like this. And I think Tiger just expedited the process this year, but next year was definitely the realistic timeline. So excited to see LaCava and Tiger getting back at it this fall.
Oh yeah, I think that's like a perfect PNC, the Bahamas, and then plus 3 to 4 other, like 3 to 4 total starts. I think that'd be perfect because just playing 1 or 2 tournaments before Augusta, I don't think is gonna cut it.
Mhm.
I think he has to get out there and play a little bit, so he'll probably play some of the bigger ones. Maybe the Players. The Players is before, right, or after?
Players is before, I
Probably play
believe.
that
No, they
one.
moved it. They moved it. Maybe
They moved it.
the Players. When is the Players? The
No, I think
Players
it's before.
is in. The Players is in. When's the Players, dude? March, February, March, April. Yeah, it's before March 7th
Yeah,
through the 12th.
yeah.
So
So he'll definitely
plenty of
play
time.
that, and getting some bigger tournaments where a lot of guys go into, and just kind of get your feet wet again, and obviously prepare for Augusta. That's what he wants to play, and I mean that's where he wants to try and lock down. It's a 2-for-1 deal. Get another green jacket, add to his count of most wins on tour.
For sure. No, I think at this point in time, in his age, there's no question as to what he's looking to do. There's no question as to what his schedule is going to be, and where you'll see him. Augusta and the 3 other majors. I mean, it's plain and simple at this point. Tiger knows there's one other record that is holding him out from being the greatest of all time, without question, without Jack Nicklaus's name being ahead of him, and that's the major count. So
Yep,
he's chasing it.
definitely.
Well, guys, we're going to be chasing 100 holes out in September at the Suburban Club in Baltimore. We are asking something huge from you guys. You guys all know the Youth on Course story. We've had Ashley McLaughlin from Youth on Course talk us through the story of Youth on Course and what they do in subsidizing rounds for the youth of this country to go play golf, and those who can't afford it, to get them a better entry level into golf. We all know how expensive golf can be. So getting kids golf clubs in their hands, getting kids on the golf course is what Youth on Course is all about. And we're joining the movement this year with Maryland State Golf Association. We're joining the 100-hole hike effort at Suburban Club in Baltimore. We're going to hike 100 holes in one day. Dante, you and I better get our training started.
Hey, dude, we don't have much time.
We don't have much time.
No.
Month and a quarter, maybe, to be ready to hike 100 holes in a day. It's a lot. Suburban Club is not a tiny golf course by any means, so we're going to have our work cut out for us. But we are going to be carrying our bags with our Tyler's golf bags out there at Suburban Club, and just doing it for the kids. But we've got a huge ask from you guys. We are trying to take you with us to Pebble Beach in after this 100-hole hike, and we need your help. We need to raise 20 grand. We need to find a way to raise $20,000 for the kids. Now we're going to have some really awesome prizes for you guys specific to Enjoy the Walk. If you hit certain tiers, whether it's 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, we'll have certain prize packs for you guys specific to us here at Enjoy the Walk. It might include some Sky Caddy gear. It might include some Squares golf shoes from our friends at Squares, and it'll include some obvious, really awesome Youth on Course 100-hole hike, Enjoy the Walk specific merch that we're going to have out in the fall as well. So guys, tap into that. We'll have the link in our bio and on all of our pages, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as well as more information about it to come on our website as soon as that link drops. Hopefully by the end of this week, before August 1st. And then the race is on to $20,000 and to Suburban Club in Baltimore. If you guys want to reach out to us with questions at Enjoy the Walk Pod or www.enjoythewalkpod.com. At Enjoy the Walk Pod is on Instagram and Twitter. So reach out there if you've got any questions. Spread the word. Help us get to $20,000 for the kids and Youth on Course, and help us hit this milestone so we can not only help Maryland State Golf Association get to their goal, but help the Youth on Course Foundation reach their goal of getting to more kids across the country. And obviously, we're going to be out there at Suburban Club in Baltimore. All of our Northeastern friends, if you can donate, or even if you can't, come out, join us, be there for part of the day, cheer us on, bring us food, bring us drinks, and just hang out. Be part of the day. We're going to be out there from sun up to sundown. I can guarantee you that 100 holes is not just a couple hour ordeal. So come out and be a part of it. Dante, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the one-off bags that we're going to get. And I think our highest bidder is going to get the third bag that we order. So that's going to be something cool too. You guys have the opportunity to bid for one of the Tyler's golf bags specific to the 100-hole hike we're doing this year. I'm excited, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of golf in one day. So,
baby.
A lot of golf in one day, a lot of steps. I think that's going to be, it depends on how many, average course 5 to 6 miles.
I think I know how
holes.
I think I know how I'm game planning it already.
What's that?
I think I'm taking a driver, maybe a 7-iron. I'm not taking anything longer than a 7-iron. Nothing longer than a 7-iron. Maybe a 9-iron, a wedge, and a putter.
Keeping it real light.
Keeping it light. So that's what? That's driver, 7-iron, 9-iron, wedge, putter. 5 clubs.
5 clubs.
5 clubs.
It's a good.
Because
that's smart.
What I'm making up for in clubs lost, I'm probably going to carry triple the amount of balls during the day.
Yeah,
if we're playing that fast, I'm not looking for golf balls. If it's remotely possibly gone, teeing another one up.
Teeing another one up and keep it moving. I'm looking at the course now. I mean, it seems like it's all pretty parkland style.
For sure.
And all the holes are kind of close knit to each other. So that's going to help. Doesn't seem too many walks from one hole to the next. And even if you kind of spray one a little bit, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is you just, wherever you do spray it, you just got to chase it down in a timely manner, not hold up the group that we're with, and, quickest in the hole.
let's just hope their pool is still open.
Oh, end of day pool crashing. I like it.
Yes.
I like it a lot.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, guys, as always, you can reach out to us at Enjoy the Walk Pod, as well as www.enjoythewalkpod.com. We hope you can get behind our cause for the 100-hole hike for youth on course with Maryland State Golf Association. We hope you can get us to 20K. That would be huge. It would mean the world. We have just over, I think, 2,500 listeners. So if each one of you gave like $10 there. So let's go. Right? Like, let's rock and roll. I'm asking for $10 from all of you, and we'll get there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right?
Done.
That's the Francis We Met special. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Done.
Yep.
$10 from all of you. That's all we need. So that's rock and roll, guys. We appreciate you listening. Share the show. Share the YouTube page. We continue to grow, so it means the world. Keep supporting, and we love you guys. So thanks for the support. And as always, guys, get out there, carry your clubs, and enjoy the walk.